He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you for listening on 103.1 or on YouTube or Facebook or your favorite podcast, or you might be listening on SuperTalk TV across the state of Mississippi. However you come to this show, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to celebrate coastal Mississippi and to spend some time with us here on Coast Vue. We really appreciate it. By the way, it's cold outside. It's a really cold morning. So I hope you're staying warm, and this too shall pass. I mean, one of the prices of living in paradise is that from time to time we're going to have a real cold spell, and today is no exception to that rule. That is for sure. Hey, look, in the past I've shared something a friend of mine posted, Robert St. John's. He actually posted this on his Facebook page some months ago, and I've shared it before on Coast Vue. But he says this is something that's on his bathroom mirror, and it's a great reminder of why we should look at each day as such a precious day. And here's what the saying says. This is the beginning of a new day. You have been given this day to use as you will. You can waste it or you can use it for good. What you do today is important because you're exchanging a day of your life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever. In its place is something you left behind. Let it be something good. I think that is so powerful, and it's so fitting with what Coast Vue is all about, just to remind people to go out and make a difference in your life every single day. And we talk about that in every way we can. Robert actually is a chef and a restaurant owner in Hattiesburg area, but he's also been involved in statewide efforts, a number of different ones over the years, most recently during the pandemic, the Restart Mississippi effort. You know him as an author. You may have seen his hit TV show Palette to Palette with the incomparable watercolorist Wyatt Waters. And if you've listened to past shows, you know that I know him well from our work together on the Governor's Commission on Recovery, Rebuilding, and Renewal after Hurricane Katrina. He spent his childhood here in coastal Mississippi, a lot of time on the bayous, as I would say, here, learning a lot about life and cooking and just life on the water. He's been a great advocate for coastal Mississippi, and he's been on Coast Vue quite a number of times. And if you've been paying attention to the news lately, you probably have turned on your evening news. I don't even know if you say that anymore because we're in a 24-hour news world these days. But you've seen him speaking out on behalf of the 500,000 independent restaurants and the more than 11 million restaurant employees related to efforts that the federal government should be taking as it relates to restaurants in America. They need our help, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that this morning. But as a result of there really being so much to talk about with Robert this morning, I decided that we'll spend a whole show just kind of checking in with him and seeing what's going on. So without any further ado, let me just say good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Ricky. How are you? Good to be here this morning.
So there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, the pandemic and your efforts there, your face has been ubiquitous. Opening your new restaurant, I want to talk about that because that's been a fascinating time. You actually recently wrote a really good column about the honeymoon of a restaurant, and I enjoyed reading that. I think that was your 22nd restaurant to open.
Yeah.
And then we can get an update on Extra Table, your charity effort as well. But you heard what I read at the beginning of the show. You live by that, don't you?
I do. It's on my mirror. It's right on my desk. In my office. And I actually saw that, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ago down in the panhandle of Florida, painted on a piece of furniture or some kind of wood hanging on the wall. I can't really remember, but I took a photograph of it and I typed it up, laminated it, put it on my mirror just to remind me that, each day is an important day. You don't want to waste a day. And kind of, I read that every morning. I look at it when I'm at work. And it wasn't until about a year ago that I learned that is something, I don't think he wrote it, but he cited it all the time. Coach Bear Bryant was a big thing. He did. I'm not an Alabama fan, but certainly he was a legend in coaching circles. But that was a saying. Somebody sent me a clip. Actually, when I posted that on Facebook, I posted fairly often. But somebody sent me a clip of him speaking, and it was a paraphrased version. So I probably have the paraphrased version. But either way, it's a good message to live by. And obviously, if it worked for the Bear, maybe it'll work for you and me. Yeah.
Well, it's always fun following you on social media just because you kind of share in any given day sort of what's on your mind that day. And there's a lot on your mind these days. I mean, certainly the pandemic is on your mind, and the work that we can do to help restaurants. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Your new restaurant, Rayo, is on your mind. Did I say that right? Is it pronounced Rayo?
El Rayo.
El Rayo. El Rayo. Wow. See, I messed that one up.
It's spelled with an A, but if it was spelled with an E, it'd be El Rayo. It's kind of the whole Spanish.
But it's a Tex mix. And what was fascinating to me watching the development of this concept was the extent to which you traveled to other restaurants really across the country, actually, and studied, all these different approaches and whatever. And I look forward to, in this conversation today, just to talk about how does a restaurant entrepreneur decide to go through this process, this best practice process you went through, that it ultimately leads you to a menu. I really want to learn more about that, and we'll do that in a second. Okay. And then, of course, you've been involved in keeping the focus on Extra Table, which is really, really important. Tell why Extra Table is so important to you.
Yeah, well, it was needed, and it was something that wasn't being done. It's something I didn't search out to do. I got a call one day in 2009 from a food pantry that was completely out of food. They called me up and said, "Can you help? We need food right now. We've got people coming in a couple of days." And I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to help." And so I figured the quickest, best, easiest way to help them would be call Cisco, the food service distributor, and I have them just drop ship a shipment of food. I did that, and that kind of set off this whole thing that, maybe places like that wouldn't run out of food if there were an easier delivery system to get them food. Because most places like that, and there are several on the coast that we supply, most places like that operate on food drives, which they won't tell you and they shouldn't tell you. But I'll tell you that the most ineffective way to fund or get food to a food pantry there is, because unfortunately what most people do is use that as an opportunity to kind of clean out their cabinet. And so when you go through these places, a lot of times what you see is blueberry pie filling and things like that. And Mississippi has 200,000 school kids who have a school breakfast and a school lunch and don't eat again until the next day. It's a real thing. And they don't need blueberry pie filling. So when I founded Extra Table, I founded it on two principles. Number one, 100% of the money we raise for food will always go to purchase food. And so we raise like 100% of that money we raise for food. We buy wholesale and in bulk and by the truckload. And so we really, if you wanted to go to the grocery store and fill up a cart for $500, we could take that same $500 and fill up 3 or 4 carts. And number two, it's always going to be healthy food, because that's what I learned. I went after that first phone call in 2009, I went on kind of a fact-finding, self-discovery mission, and I just traveled around to soup kitchens. To be honest with you, I was a little skeptical. There was even a hunger problem in Mississippi. I'm thinking, this is America. This doesn't happen here. I learned quickly there's a huge problem. And out of the 2.9 million citizens in Mississippi, there are about 670,000, or 1 in 5, who suffer from what the government calls food insecurity. And what I noticed when I was traveling around to these places, and I learned that there's a lot of unhealthy food served to the population, which is why we, at the time, were number one in food insecurity, but also number one in obesity. And I had a problem reconciling those two things. I'm like, well, somebody's eating something somewhere. I was pretty cynical about it. But I learned the more research I did that those two always go hand in hand, because if you don't have enough money to lead a proper diet, you're living out of a convenience store drinking the cheapest sugar drinks and snack foods. And, anything's better than nothing. So that's why there's so much obesity. So number one, we planted our flag on 100% of the money we raise for food goes to food. No administrative costs, nothing like that. Number two, it's always going to be healthy food. Low-fat proteins, low-sugar fruits, healthy grains, low-sodium vegetables, things like that. And so we have really grown this thing. I mean, it's one thing I've learned is that a nonprofit is really slow to build. And we've had a slow growth, but I've got some really, really cool stuff to report. And when we come back on the other side of the hour, I got to give you some numbers, man, that we are so fired up about. We are really excited about talking about the effectiveness of Extra Table.
This is Robert St. John. We'll finish the conversation about Extra Table and then talk about his media tour as it relates to restaurants and his passion about why there needs to be help. We'll be back after this break.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021 and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We have Robert St. John with us today. He has, and we didn't talk about this at the beginning, a company called New South Restaurant Group. as a new restaurant called El Rayo. Did I say that correctly that time? And the Mahogany Bar, Tabella's, the Midtowner, Ed's Burger Joint, the Crescent City Grill, and also the Purple Parrot Room now. And we'll come back and talk about where he is as it relates to his business these days. What's happening in his business? What's it like to open a new restaurant in the throes of a pandemic? But we were headed towards some extra table statistics. Give me the latest.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned, Ricky, is that when you start a 501c3 from scratch, it is a slow roll uphill. But it's something we were passionate about. And we brought in an executive director. Her name's Martha Allen. She's been there almost 3 years now. And she is a force of nature, man. She got lit on fire and really grew this thing. And I'll tell you this, this is the easiest way to put it. In 2019, our best year to date, we shipped, I think it was 268,000 pounds of healthy food, feeding charities and the feeding world when it comes to hunger measures everything in pounds, in poundage. Not really the best thing to do because you could be sending, junk food in pounds and it'll go. But, everything I'm talking about is healthy food, and that's what we deal with. But so 2019, we did 268,000 pounds. This January, we shipped over 280,000 pounds, more than we did the full year in 2019. So what we did in 2019 and what is so impressive, and I want to give Martha Allen the credit, because for most of the year, until August, she was doing it by herself. So that's a statewide charity run with one employee. And so, it's very effective. We shipped, just in regular business, 1.2 million pounds of food during the pandemic in 2020. But we also made a partnership with Dairy Fresh for milk and shipped another 4,700,000 pounds of milk. And so that was a total of 5.9 million pounds of food that Extra Table did, mostly with one employee. And it's a 2,200% increase over the previous year, which is going to be hard to top. But we went from 39 agencies in 32 counties last year. We're up to 62 agencies in 49 counties. And so the growth has just been, it was really slow. And then, last year, as bad as last year was, the need was so great out there that, the timing was right for us to really, step up and make a difference in Mississippi, because there are so many people in need out there.
Well, there were, before the pandemic, as you pointed out, there were so many people in need, and then the pandemic just exacerbates the situation. So it's amazing what you can do with focused partners and volunteers. And I love the thought, you bring a vision to what Extra Table needs to accomplish, and you have Martha Allen coming in and taking sort of that challenge and taking it to a whole new level. Man, when you have dedicated leadership on an effort like this, you can tackle the world. And, we hear it every day from guests that are just making a difference. Let's shift gears now. We don't want to get too bogged down, but I just want to make sure that I cover this before we get to your passion about how to help restaurants across the nation. As I mentioned, your New South restaurant group is multifaceted. How is business overall, and how do you sort of judge where you are relative to the pandemic?
Yeah, it's it's really concept by concept. It depends on which restaurant we're talking about. I will tell you this, that we in Mississippi are in so much better shape and position than my friends. I'm on a daily Zoom call with the Independent Restaurant Coalition with people across the country, and there are people in California, New York, and Chicago, Denver, and those states have basically, just shut restaurants down altogether. And what we've done, we were in various states of close. We had Midtowner, our kind of breakfast lunch place, was closed for 4 months. And then the other ones, Purple Parrot, which was kind of our flagship, the restaurant I opened, first restaurant in 1987. When March hit, we knew that wasn't going to be a business model that was going to work going forward. So that restaurant we had for 32 years, we made the decision to close permanently, as well as the cocktail bar next to it. And at the time, I was working on a Tex-Mex concept for the last couple of years that I was going to do at another location on another site. And when we made the decision to shut down the Parrot, I thought, well, you know, let's just reconfigure this room, redecorate, and do the Tex-Mex concept here. It has a big outdoor component. And so we're right now in the middle of, we're building a 3,500 square foot patio out there with an outside bar and a rooftop bar and a taco truck out there and all sorts of things. So instead of doing that on another piece of property and buying another piece of property, I'm doing on one I own. But I'm either a shrewd restaurateur or a complete and total idiot for taking out a loan in the middle of a global pandemic, but we needed something to do with that space, and I was paying for the space, wasn't generating any income, and so far the response has been overwhelming. It's something I'm really proud of, and you talked about those restaurant openings at the beginning of the show. I've been a part of 22 restaurant openings. 3 of those were the first 3 places I worked. I was part of opening a place way back in the early 80s. But 19 of those openings have been mine, and restaurant openings are a pretty unique animal, but this one has gone pretty well, even with, you know, some limited seating and some issues. You know, we're following all the CDC guidelines and the State Department of Health guidelines, and it has been well received. I probably did more R&D on this concept than any other one I've done. And I typically do research and development to a large extent. The restaurant we opened immediately before this were 2. We did a dual thing. I opened the Midtowner, which is still open, breakfast and lunch. And so that was a pretty easy traveling around, just eating at community cafes and meet and threes and getting some ideas there. But we also did a small batch donut shop called Midtown Donut. It has closed too. It was located directly across from Southern Miss campus, and typically there are 15,000 students over there that aren't there right now, and it didn't make sense to reopen that. But did a lot of research on donuts too, as my girth would belie. But I hadn't. We won't redo that. But this Tex-Mex thing is, I mean, it's true Tex-Mex. I spent a lot of time in Houston and Dallas in people's kitchens and meeting with different chefs, and Atlanta, Montana, Wyoming. I mean, all over the place. We took a couple of weeks back in September during the shutdown and just ate my way through a lot of those places and learned a lot. And we've tried to stay true to what real Tex-Mex cuisine is. And so far, the response has been good.
Yeah, real quick before we shift gears, talk about the process you guys do to infuse the meat.
Yeah. So a lot of times you go to a Mexican restaurant or a Tex-Mex restaurant and you order steak fajitas, and it comes out like kind of gray, twisted stew meat. I mean, it just doesn't look real pretty. It doesn't taste good. It's tough. That's because they're using flap or flank. Flap steak, flank steak. What I learned on this tour in this R&D is that the real guys use skirt steak. There's inside skirt and there's outside skirt. Inside skirt is really good. Outside skirt is the best. And so we buy outside skirt. We age it for 30 days. It's important. Then we marinate it, and then we put it in a vacuum tumbler. We do this every day. And this vacuum tumbler is a machine on the counter. It looks like a small kind of cross between a rock tumbler and a clothes dryer. And we put the meat and the marinade in there, seal it, turn it on, and it creates a vacuum. And what happens, it forces the marinade into the muscle of the protein, and then it starts tumbling around. And so all sides get covered. And you actually see the marinade kind of disappear a little bit. You don't leave it in there long. You turn it off, and it kind of comes back out. but it makes a huge difference in the way that outside skirt steak tastes. And so anything on that menu, fajitas, steak tacos, steak nachos, steak enchiladas, anything, we use that. Now with chicken, we just brine it for 24 hours, and we make sure we use small birds, which is a big difference. A lot of times you go to restaurants nowadays, chicken's really tough. We spec out 2.5 pound birds, and they're smaller and more tender.
This is Robert St. John.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota. Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and wow. All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fm.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here. The show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Heart attacks and strokes don't stay home. So don't avoid the ER out of anxiety. Don't die of doubt. If you have an emergency, call 911. When seconds count, the hospital is the safest place to be.
Everyone knows the only thing better than pizza is free pizza, and right now, buy a $10 gift certificate to CiCi's Pizza for only $5. It's like buying a pizza and getting a pizza for free. Go to our station's website or Facebook. Look for the Half Off Deals logo to purchase this amazing deal right now.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Robert St. John's with us. He's a restaurant entrepreneur, a statewide leader in lots of different ways, but he's super passionate about what he knows and what he's learned about the impact of the pandemic on restaurants across the country. And, you mentioned a few minutes ago that when you're on these conference calls with restaurateurs from some of these other states that have had these really serious lockdowns, it's amazing to me, given Mississippi's experience, which has not been perfect. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look, no state's perfect as it relates to the pandemic because we're in uncharted territory. We're having to constantly put new things in place. But the reality is we came to the realization sort of early on as it related to our students going back to school, as it related to businesses going back to business, is if we follow the CDC guidelines and we work hard to protect people, that we can do both. We can protect people and we can keep our economy open. And so if nothing else, Mississippi and a few other states have been really good best practices for how to reopen the economy. In Mississippi's case, it's number 3 on the list of states in the nation in terms of economic recovery after the shutdown. That's pretty significant. It is amazing to me, though, Robert, that we're still having debates in other states about whether the students should go to school or not, or whether businesses should remain open or not. A lot of those are being discussed, are being forced by, in some cases, union situations, other cases, governors or mayors that are just way, way, way too conservative in their approach to the pandemic, or too protective might be the best word. But it's amazing to me that we're not capturing the essence of what has worked in most states and implemented that across the other states. It's got to be frustrating to the restaurant owners that you talk to.
Well, it's there. A lot of states like California and other places, as far as the restaurant industry goes, I mean, they're facing a mass extinction event of restaurants. It just, you can't stay that shut down for that long and try to figure it out. And so just to look on the positive end of things, Mississippi, whether it's statewide leadership or it's local leadership, has really done just about as well as you could do in this thing. And I'm going to tell you, Governor Reeves, man, that guy came in one weekend. He had the Human Service, the Department of Human Services crisis. Then he had the prison deal. He had tornadoes. He had floods. He had a global pandemic. And I'm going to tell you, so I think credit needs to go to Governor Reeves. He's followed what Dr. Dobbs has done, and I know local mayors. I talk to Billy Hughes every once in a while. Has done a solid job. My mayor, Toby Barker, has done a good. So I think really it just comes to leadership and common sense. And you got to lock down the nursing homes and the assisted living facilities. My mother's in one. And they've done a good job at that place doing that. So restaurants, we followed, all the CDC and State Department of Health guidelines and have opened up slowly but surely in different phases. I mean, we're not 100% seating capacity yet, nor should we be, I guess. I leave all the medical stuff to the experts. But, we are able to open and operate safely and smartly. And like you said, my friends on the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which was really just formed in March, this organization, which has been so effective. And it's some heavyweights across the country and me for some reason. But, if you look at it, our first meeting was March 19th by Zoom. We met twice a day for months and months. Just trying to get some relief from Congress. And when President Trump in May had a restaurant summit in the White House, I think there was Trump and Mnuchin. You had the vice president there. You had Jared, Ivanka. You had Kudlow. I mean, all the heavy hitters. There were 9 restaurateurs there. 3 of the 9 were from the Independent Restaurant Coalition, which at the time was about 3 months old. And so they found out I was from Mississippi and knew Senator Wicker. And so I worked with Wicker and his team. There's a guy named Rob Murray, who is from the Gulf Coast. And if anybody listening right now knows Rob Murray and knows who he is, who works in Senator Wicker's office, I'm going to tell you, and you can't do this. You can't give these people food. But once that guy's out of government, he should never buy another meal in a restaurant on the Gulf Coast as long as he lives, if that's legal, because he has worked hard and through Senator Wicker's office to get this Restaurants Act. In the last Congress, we got to where it passed the House. We had 215, I think, House members sign on. We had 53 senators, and we had senators from both sides of the aisle. And these contentious times when you can get Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin on one side and John Cornyn and Lindsey Graham to agree on the other side, you've really done something. We couldn't push it past. Rubio and Collins were a little bit of the holdup there. And so, as you know, Ricky, any new bill, once you get a new Congress, all the old bills are kind of put to rest and mothballed. And so we are working towards, and we just got a great vote about 2 weeks ago, and the Senate voted 90 to 100 to add this Restaurants Act we've been working towards, that Senator Wicker and Rob Murray in his office have crafted and worked towards. They voted to add that into this. So it's not a done deal yet. We need Congressman Palazzo to sign on board, and I've been in touch with him a good bit, and he's very supportive of restaurants and knows the impact of restaurants on the coast. I don't have the state numbers in front of me, but I can give you national numbers. And you quoted the 11 million people who work in restaurants across the country, but you also have 5 million who work in ancillary businesses, and those are fishermen and their families, oystermen, shrimpers, all those guys. Farmers, it's not just restaurants. And the thing about it is the restaurant business is unique. It's a unique business model. If you own a clothing boutique or if you own a sporting goods store, you open at 9 a.m., you close at 9 p.m., and people trickle in kind of all throughout the day. In a restaurant, you open at 11 a.m., and so really from about 11:30 until 1 p.m., that's your window to make money. At dinner, it's usually 7 to 8:30, maybe 6 to 8. You got another hour and a half. So really 3 hours a day in a restaurant. And the thing about restaurants is it's based on seating capacity. Every decision a restaurateur makes is based on seating capacity. Before you open, you're going to determine what you can pay your managers, what you can pay your landlord, what you can pay the bank. Everything's based on seating capacity. And so when your seating capacity gets cut by 50% and you only have 3 hours within which to work, then it's just an unworkable situation. So,
and that's if you're open.
Yeah, that's if you're correct. And so, it's been a thing, and that's why they've, we've kind of been out front on all these different forms of news media, whether it's, Fox News or this Wall Street Journal op-ed I wrote. And, it's just people understand, though. I want to tell you the support we have received has been heartwarming, and people get it. But and what I'm talking about are independent restaurants, independent, locally owned restaurants. I'm not talking about franchises or corporate chains, because those guys have a lot of access to capital. Most of them are publicly traded companies, and they can weather a storm like this. But your mom and pop place on the corner, little diner downtown, the pizza place there in Gulfport, all of those kind of places, that's what makes up the character of a town or city. People aren't traveling to New Orleans for conventions so they can eat at chain restaurants. They want to eat at independent, locally owned, local flavor restaurants. When I travel out of town, I always go to the lobby of the hotel and I ask the front desk guy, I say, where's the local breakfast place? I want to go where the old guys are talking about sports and politics, and because that's where I'm going to learn about that town and the people in that town. It's not at, some kind of national chain or something. And I'll tell you the situation in Hattiesburg, we have probably had 20 restaurants close since last March. We're 45,000 people, small town. We've had 20 restaurants close. Every single one of them was an independently owned, locally owned restaurant. No national chains have closed. I mean, you drive through Chick-fil-A or whatever and you see the crowds. I mean, those guys aren't hurting, but other places like independently owned restaurants, that's where the hurt is.
So if you go and take a look at this, what you'll see is the Independent Restaurant Coalition, the organization that Robert's talking about. That restaurant and bar sales since the pandemic started have fallen over $180 billion. And of course, I spent time in New Orleans, as you know, as president of NOLA Media Group and publisher of the Times-Picayune. And the stories that I'm hearing coming out of New Orleans are they're just heartbreaking. I mean, entire neighborhoods full of these wonderful restaurants are just closing. And I mean, they have no access, as you pointed out, to capital, and they're so worn down. I mean, that's true here in coastal Mississippi, as we discussed as well. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Robert St. John. We'll see you after the break.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here at I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera slips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Robert St. John with us. And when we went to break, we were talking about the national effort underway to help independent restaurants. And there's an independent restaurant coalition that was formed. And I thought it was amazing, actually, Robert, that in the short period of time you guys have been able to sort of marshal your forces, that in this meeting at the White House with restaurants, the 9 restaurateurs or restaurant companies that were represented, or organizations that were represented, 3 of the 9 were from the independent coalition, which I think is a great testament not only to you guys' leadership, but the realization that you represented so many restaurants and bars across this nation. I mean, it is an amazing group of people that traditionally really didn't have a lobbying effort working for them. Isn't that true?
Well, that's true. There's the National Restaurant Association, but a lot of their interests have to do with national chains, and I'm a member of the National Restaurant Association too, but there were 2 members of the NRA at that White House meeting and 3 members of the Independent Restaurant Coalition. So independent restaurants and anybody interested, I would say go to saverestaurants.com and you can learn about it. And if you want to do something today to make sure that those locally owned great coast seafood restaurants stick around, send a letter to Congressman Palazzo, ask him to sign on to that bill. He's a great guy, and we appreciate his support. We just need him to sign that legislation and sign on to that in the House version of that bill. But, you know, the thing about restaurants, and we talked about the numbers in 11, it's the number 2 industry in the country behind healthcare. And so if you look at independent restaurants alone and the ancillary businesses, like we talked about, fishermen, shrimpers, oystermen, that's 16 million people. The airline industry, which obviously has a unique business model and singular, they have 700,000 people that work for. So we're talking about 700,000, and they have received targeted relief twice. The airline industry has. Restaurants, which is the number 2 industry in the country, hadn't received anything yet. And you're talking about 16 million people. They passed this act, and you want to affect the unemployment numbers. You can move the unemployment national average in a positive way by 2.4% with a stroke of a pen. And you're going to get that money back. The government's going to save whatever they put into the Restaurants Act, Senator Wicker's Restaurant Act. They're going to save whatever money they put in by not paying out in unemployment, revenue coming in. It's just, you know, mental health, everything. It falls. Yeah. So
Robert, you know, part of the tragedy here is that by the time it passes, since this is sort of the first wave, you know, of targeted help, so many businesses will already have gone out of business. And as we learned after Hurricane Katrina, I mean, if you think Katrina is soon to be 16 years ago, it takes a long time to recover from a disaster. It just does. I mean, that's just a reality. And if you think of the pandemic sort of being this worldwide disaster, it will take years for us to fully appreciate and understand the impact of the pandemic. I mean, there's just no way around that. And what we're trying to do is minimize that. We're trying to minimize the amount of recovery that's going to have to happen, that's so needed in the local communities. And it's a real shame, actually, that we haven't been able to get alignment around this already. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. And I think what you say, I completely agree. I mean, we're facing something that will be so life-changing. It will be the Depression, the Great Depression, or World War II, or something like that. The people that come out of this are going to be so affected in so many different ways. And I think we're going to have so many changes that life going forward is certainly going to be different. But what we have to have are independent, locally owned businesses to survive, because that's what makes up the character of a community. The coast, the Mississippi coast, is what it is because when I was a kid, you know, I went down, I ate my first raw oyster at Bear Seb's. We used to get fried shrimp at the Friendship House. You know, all of those Mary Mahoney's, all of those locally owned. See, that's what makes up the character of the coast. It's not the national, and nothing against national chains, because, you know, I'm sure people eat in those a lot, but the national chain at the interstate intersection at I-10 and 49 is going to be the same one that you see in Peoria, Illinois, and Portland, Oregon. It tells you nothing about the city. It's these locally owned places that make up a community and the character of a community.
I want to shift gears in like the last couple of minutes that we have. I went back and watched the pallet-to-pallet programs focused on Italy. And, you know, my association with you has made me more interested in Italy. You know, we're out of time. We only have a minute left. But every time I see Italy, or the Tuscany region of Italy, I think about you. And I bet you can't wait to get back on the road. Just maybe for closing thoughts of 15 seconds.
Yeah, I really can. And I'm in touch with my friends over there almost daily. And we canceled 7 trips. We weren't able to go. We're gonna go again, but they're having it really rough over there too, because their government isn't as strong as our government, and they're expecting about 400,000 businesses to close.
Wow,
this year.
That's hard to hear, man. Listen, Robert St. John, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the visit, and also for your leadership. And good luck on closing a deal for restaurants and bars across the United States. And have a great day.
SaveRestaurants.com.
SaveRestaurants.com. We'll be back after this break.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1.